Hi, this is Bonnie, and today I'm going to be working on this project, and if you notice, there are some new fairy hug stamps that are going to be released tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and show you some of the ones that are going to be released. This one right here is called the Nigel, and let's see if I can get him to show up a little bit better. There we go. And he is a little mouse holding a little tea bag. And then we have a corner. It doesn't have to be a corner, actually. It can be used for anything, but it works really well in the corner. And this is called Lost in Time. And it kind of like has a little bit of a Alice in Wonderland theme to it. So I thought that worked really well with a tea. And then this is something that I have used a lot in preparing for the new release, because that's why it is so dirty. And that is a Ginkgo Branch. It works perfectly for stamping and having any color behind, but also if you want to color in the leaves, it works great. And also there's these two extra little pieces that come with it, so you can even extend and make it look like the leaves are falling down. It's really a cool stamp. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get started, but I'm going to explain to you what I want to do first. And that is, if you can see this background right here, I wanted it to look like a little mouse hole, or a place where he could hide. And so what I have created is like a stencil. And that's what this is right here. And I was going to show you how I made this stencil first. I just did some hole punching so I could just get into the center, because I want this to be a torn look. So I've got that going, and every time you do this, unless you kind of like sketch it out, it will be organic depending on what you want to do. And I just start tearing, and I figure out about what size I want my hole to be, or it could be an entrance, it could to anything, and it just kind of like works out really well just to do it this way. So you just kind of want to make sure that you also get that little bit of that hole punch torn, so that it is part of your opening. And that would be one of the openings, like what I would do. So I went ahead and used this one. I'm going to continue to use that, but I'm telling you, this is how I did it. And I even tore this side so I could also use that as part of my inking when I make the picture. So I am using, this is like a 4-inch, I should really measure that again. I meant to make it 4 1/4, and I cut it too short, so it's 4 inches by 5, a little bit bigger than 5 1/2. And it doesn't really matter, because you can just add more things to it if you decide to make it bigger. So how I usually start my inking bases is I use Pumice stone. I don't know why I like it better than just the white background. And I guess I forget to say anything, because the last time I did it, people go, "What did you use?" I said, I didn't say that I spray my blending brush with water. And I pick up my ink that way. This ink pad is starting to dry out a little bit, because I have used it a lot just for that reason. And I usually put a sheet underneath, and I just rub it across. It is really pretty much subtle when I do this. It's just that I like it better than just a plain white. And you could do it with plain white. It wouldn't matter at all. It's just my preference. And I just keep misting my blending brush till I get just a very thin layer over the top. And then once I do that, I actually have started to, so I can do it right away, I will actually dry this a little bit so I can get the next step going. So that's what that looks like. You can hardly see it. It's very, very subtle. And I'm going to go ahead and dry that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I figured out about where I want to put my opening on this one, just similar to what I did before, and I am using the Pumice stone again. I'm just coming back, this is with a dry brush this time. And, well, actually that got a little bit of a mark to it, but that's okay because I'm going to be adding more to it. There's not much here, it's just making it a little bit darker. Then I'm going to take Hickory Smoke and add that to the center as well. And you're going to start seeing a little bit more of a difference. I think I'm going to need to be getting some newer blending brushes. That's why some of the edges of these are starting to get a little bit sharp. Or I don't know what the word is, but that's why I get those little straggly marks in there. All right, so you're going to be able to see that's showing up now. I'm going to get the bottom part of this a little bit too. Need a little bit more down here. Okay, so you can pretty much see where that opening is going to be, but the next thing I want to do before I take that completely off is I am going to use Faded Jeans and give it a little bit more dimension just around the outside, not on the inside, because I want to keep that lighter color there because I'm going to need the contrast. So now that is showing up really well. So the next thing I do, which is what I said, let's see what I did with that piece. I have another piece of paper, and what I want to do here is I'm putting this piece of paper down because I want to have kind of like the base, like it's where it's setting. And so for this one, I am going to be using, I'm going to be using chipped sapphire for this part. I want it to be more like the, if you kind of like call it a horizon in a way, and I want it to be darker. So that I'm doing it with the paper up as opposed to down. Lots of times if I'm making clouds, I will turn it the other way around. So anyway, this is just going to give me my base for what I want to start. And that's what that's going to look like. It really has grounded that. So now I am going to go ahead and take the same thing again, and I'm going to just be putting a little bit of like zigzag going back and forth. And this time though, I am not using the distressed chipped sapphire. Rather, I'm going to be using Faded Jeans. Now I have a little bit of that on here, so I'm going to switch my blending brush to the one I was using previously that doesn't have anything on it, because I don't want it to be as dark as a chipped sapphire. I want it to be just a little bit lighter. This is going to kind of give it a snowy-ish look. It's not really what I was trying to go for, but I just wanted it lighter. Whoops. I just wanted it a little bit lighter than the chipped sapphire. And the Faded Jeans works perfectly for that. It's one of my go-to. I really, really like Faded Jeans and chipped sapphire. They're my favorites, along with a Pumice stone, because it works for everything when I'm doing this kind of stuff, the blending. All right, and then I'm just going to go around the bottom there without anything else, just to give that so it fills in. All right, so that's our base. Now for the top part, I'm going to go ahead and remember I told you I tear the side off so I could actually use it as a multi-purpose. And in this case, I'm going up. So instead of, like how I did all of it this way, I'm going to go this way to make it more of a cloud area looking. If you go the other direction, that's kind of like what happens. And this time I'm using, and I should have used my other brush, I am using the chipped sapphire. Now I'm trying not to go over this. I'm coming close, but not going over the opening as best as I can. And then I'm going to just tilt this a little bit, give it a little bit more character. Keep going up. Oh, you know what? I grabbed the wrong ink. I'm using Faded Jeans, and I was going to say, there's not a contrast there. The contrast comes for using a darker color. So there we go. Much better. Okay. I want to make that contrast work. Every time I do this, I do it differently. I don't know why, I just tend to. In the end, it all works out anyway. Let's go that way. This piece is getting, I want to do a little bit more of the, I had re-inked my chip Sapphire, and when I did that, it is not as blendy, and I tend to get even more of these little straggly bits in my blending now. So, but we'll go back in and we're going to add some more to make this a little bit darker, because I want this top part to be a little bit darker. So there's a little bit more of a contrast from the top and the bottom. All right. So that's pretty much what my look is going to be. And then the next thing I do, move my inks out of the way, is I spray this. And then I heat set that right away so that the water spots show. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I want some bigger blobs. So I've got those on there. I'm going to go ahead and heat set that, and I'll be right back. Okay, so for the next part, what I do is stamping. And I'm going to go ahead and get this a little closer so you can see the ink and the water drops in there. So I'm going to go ahead and get this set up. And what I'm doing is I am going to be stamping this with VersaFine Clear Nocturne. Because I already, like I said, I heat set that. We're good to go. And these stamps are really fun. Also, the DT have created so many really cool projects with the new release. They have even used this just as the part up here as foliage. So it's very versatile, this stamp. And this is going to need to be stamped twice because I'm stamping on top of a pigment type ink. Distress Oxide, you usually have to do it twice with your VersaFine Clear, just to get a nice coverage. I think I'm going to go, I can see one little spot that I really would like darker. Plus my ink pad, if you need to make sure your ink pad is refilled too, it makes a big difference when you go to stamp. You don't need to stamp as many times. So that's good. So then the next thing I'm going to do is the mouse. And usually I use my little, I usually set these on and then figure out exactly where I want them to be. And it usually has a lot to do with where I have put my little lines when I did that torn paper. So that could even change the design of your card based on where you have put those lines. And again, I'm just using VersaFine Clear Nocturne. I'll probably have to do that one again a second time. He's got a lot of great details in him. And again, the more you ink them up, the more the details can get filled up and filled in. So again, a good reason why you need to keep your ink pad refilled. But that, I think I'm gonna get his little bit more down below. There we go. Okay, I wanted you to see how cute. He's just so cute. Love him, love him, love him. So that's Nigel. And then the last thing I like to do, which I have to rearrange these papers a little bit so I don't get it all over the background, is I'm going to be putting some of the Ginkgo Branch up above. And I really like to do that on this side before I know what I want to do on that side. So this is like a very versatile branch. It can be done in so many different angles. So in this case, I think I'm going to go this way. And like I said, this is already a very well-worn, loved stamp. Nigel is too. You probably will see several of him on the projects that I have made for this release. I can't wait for you to see all of them because they're really super cute. They will be on Create and Craft tomorrow and the next day. And I should really have my calendar in front of me so I can tell you the exact dates. They will be on the 26th of April and the 27th of April. And Julia Watts will be demonstrating for us. She always does a really great job. And not only that, but Julia Watts also has a YouTube channel that you can check and see that she does a lot of fairy hugs tutorials. And it's Julia Watts, and Watts is spelled W-A-T-T-S. I will have the link below so that you will be able to go and check out her YouTube channel as well, because you can learn so many fun things from Julia too. Okay, I'm turning my background paper around just a little bit so that I can get more of that Ginkgo branch up above that I love. I really like it. Okay, so like I said, this can be turned around so many different ways, which is really cool. And these little pieces right here, like I told you, are separate little pieces that can be added on. I'm not going to need them for this particular project, but I have used them for my other projects for this release. All right. This will be the last thing that we will stamp. Whoops. And this card stamping will be finished. The only thing that I'm going to do is a little bit of coloring. So if you want to stick around, I will show you how I color in this image. I need to stamp that one more time. Okay, we're good to go. I'll be right back with my pencils. Okay, so let's start coloring. I am going to be using grass green, it's 909, and I am using Prisma color pencils. And how I start is the artist has designed it so that there are little lines, and I try to do the darkest color I'm going to be using on the top part of those lines, if you want to call it that. Should probably come over here to the side a little bit. I'm trying to still use my natural light from the day so I don't have the overhead on because it gives a glare. So that's why I'm trying to get this done right now. I want you to be able to see it more of a natural light. you can see this does not take very long to color in the leaves. There's also berries, and I have colored in the berries depending on the paper that I use, all different colors. I'm sure there's a specific color for a ginkgo berry, but I just kind of like get creative and add some color that way, just depending on what I want to do. So I usually do just 2 colors. I do a darker color for my ginkgo leaves, and then I add a lighter color. So that's what those leaves, the first color, looks like. And then the next color, I think I'm going to do a little bit brighter. And this one is lime peel, and it's 1005. And that'll probably give me a little bit of a brightness. But it does blend in fine with that one, I think. Sometimes I find that some greens blend in better depending on what you want, the look you want. If you want it to have a more yellow look, if you want it to have more of a blue look, depending on the pencil you pick. And you can always test this out if you're not really sure on a separate piece of paper. I probably shouldn't turn this too much on you, but I want you to be able to see without me the shadow. So that's why I'm turning it. And I think, I'm trying to think of what color I want my berries to be. I think I'm gonna go with pink. And I was really thinking about going with more like a blueberry one because of everything on here is blue. And I might still, we'll see once I get this done, I might change my mind. Because I also like, I think with a blue look, it would be pretty with the paper too. But pink would also give it some more of a, I wanted to say spring look, but overall I don't know that the pink for the berry will make a difference. All right. I also think these leaves are really cute because they actually look like little skirts to me. Okay. Almost done. I could have done this in fast motion, but I figured it wasn't going to take a whole long time to do this little bit of coloring. It's not really a fancy coloring. Just kind of like adds color to your cards. All right, so the green is finished. So I'm going to go ahead and pull a pink. I think that's what we're going to do, is a pink. And I am going to be using, this is just called pink, and it is $9.29. Now, you could add a little bit of darkness to give it a little bit more depth, but I think I'm just going to go with a pink as is. Now, I have stamped 2 of these exactly the same, so I could color in another one a different color so you can see the variety. If I do that, I will have the finished one at the beginning of the film, of this video, and then you can see there's so many varieties you can do. And you don't have to color these in at all. You can just leave it plain. It's not a big deal. All right, so very simply, those are colored in. And then the next thing I like to do is I'm going to add a little bit of color to the flowers on here. Again, you don't have to do that, but I'm going to add a little bit of color. And I think I'm going to make them more of a hot pink because the hot pink will show up. I might have to sharpen this one though. It doesn't show up really drastically because it's really dark. And I know this pencil is getting very tiny. It, again, is one of my favorites. I don't know if you can kind of see, it's not a real bright color. I mean, it's a bright color in its own, but on top of black, unless you are using a pencil that is made for black, it's not going to show up really bright, which is fine for me. I do think I'm going to add to the, I'm going to add to the little bit of the fern that's there. And I know this color will show up really well. And this is spring green, and it's 913. And again, I hopefully have a sharp enough point. But this one will tone down the black because it is lighter. And I'm just going around that, those little bit of whiter leaves, or if you want to call them that. Okay, so you can see the little bit of green for that. And I'm really not, as you can tell, I'm not staying in the lines. It doesn't really matter. Then I like to highlight this clock. And the way that I do that is with my sparkle gel pen. I love this gel pen. And if you notice, there's a little, it's like a beaded chain. And I am just filling in each one of those little circles. And there's a little heart down here at the bottom. I'm just going to put a little bit on that. And then all the way around the clock, well, not all the way around, but this part right here, halfway, I am going to add, I think I'm going to have to slow down here a bit so I stay in the line. And then on this side, there's teeny tiny dots. And I am just highlighting some of those going around. And if you can see these lines going in this other direction, I'm not doing all of them. I'm just randomly adding some color because I don't really want to totally cover up those lines. So you can kind of see on there how you can add that. Then the other thing I'm going to add is the center of the flowers. And there's several. You could also really color those in with, but they're tiny. So I didn't for this one. So that's the gold sparkle. And then we're going to just do a little bit for our mouse. And again, he has some leaves, and I'm going to color those in with these. Not very much, because they're not very big. And there's one down, two down here. And I really don't want to color him in because I really, really like his details. So I don't really want to color him in. Now, I am going to do something for this tea bag. It looks like right now that it is totally clear, and it's not clear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some of this paint. I've used this before in my videos, and it's Extreme Glitter Hologram. And I'm just going to make it look sparkly. And it kind of like, it makes it fun. So I need my, there we go. I need my paintbrush. And I'm just going to paint that in. Now, right now it looks like I'm totally covering that up, but when it dries, it doesn't look that way. This is also a water-based paint. So it could, if I hadn't, it could affect when I use the Distress Oxide. Now let's see if we can get that to shine. There we go. You can see how it'll be shiny. So that's pretty much what I'm going to do to my card. I am going to go ahead and distress the outside of it also, and then I'm going to put it on a card base. And it's a pretty simple card to do. The other thing I'm going to do, I forgot to show you because I don't have that out, is I'm going to see if I can get the sentiment. There's a new sentiment set. Let me pull that out and I'll be right back. Okay, so here are two other new released stamps that are coming out. These are considered two different things. They can be a background stamp, or if you look closely at each one of these, there are little lines that you could actually cut out or you could mask and use. Like this is tea is always a good thing, or a good idea. I'm trying to read this through my camera. Okay, there is always time for tea and cake, and tea is like a hug in a mug. And then you could have all these letters even cut out if you wanted to. So it could be a very versatile, that could be a very versatile stamp. And then there's also a coffee one. Same type of thing. Coffee is always a good idea. I'll take coffee with my sunshine, and coffee is like a hug in a mug. And again, all these different words that it has to do with coffee. So both of these are really super, and because the little mouse, Nigel, is holding a tea bag, I will probably use one of these little sentiments and see if I can get that. I might not be able to get it at the bottom, but we'll see what we can do. So I just wanted to show you that, and I will finish this off and have the picture at the beginning of what it looks like. It'll just be a sentiment, and I'm going to go ahead and ink, like I said, around the outside and put it on a card base. So thank you for stopping by. I'm going to have the links below of what I used, and just keep your eyes open because tomorrow is going to be a great day with several new stamps. So thanks for stopping by.